In this video, I'm going to break down 20 brutal truths I wish I knew earlier. In 2019, I was sleeping in my car, and just 2 years later, I had a top 2% podcast. 3 years later, I'd built a multi-six-figure coaching business, and on top of that, I growth partnered with a 7-figure company to then start doing what I do now, where I help business owners end procrastination so that they can focus, grow, and scale their business without losing out on life. And now I'm over here in Bali. I've traveled to over 30 countries. Number one is stop complaining. I meet so many people around me that complain, and they don't just complain. They complain, then they complain, then they complain, then they complain some more, and then they're a little bit more negative, and they're a little bit more negative again. But here's the thing. In the universe, in the world, in the energetic space, the things that you speak out, you're going to attract more. Where energy goes, energy flows. Now, it's not that you can't be negative whatsoever. We're not going to put down that you can't be a human being with any negative emotions. I say negative emotions. But at the same time, every time you complain, you are literally slitting your financial throat. So cut it out. Have a problem, express it, understand the problem, get a solution, get moving. Number two, stop multitasking. I used to be the guy who was like, oh yeah, I can do this here and this there, and I'd have 15 windows open thinking I'd be more productive. I'd also have 2 screens, and whilst I like having more screens, it allows me to analyze bigger things at a wider view. I speak to a lot of people who are like, oh, I run at 110 miles an hour, but think about this. You're in constant anxiety, you're in constant stress, and then from there, you're wondering why, when your head hits the pillow, you're still feeling anxious, you're not feeling like you did enough, and then you wake up feeling anxious as well. It's because you're multitasking. You're trying to do more things. There was a study by, I believe it was Microsoft, where they analyzed 3 subset groups. The first subset group were just the placebo group. They didn't do anything. The second group smoked marijuana, and then the next group multitasked. And then they had them do an IQ test, and what they found was the people at the top of the IQ test were the placebo group, next was the marijuana group, and then next were the multitaskers. So you've got to cut multitasking out of your life. It's not helping you, it's lowering your IQ and making you less smart. Third is go to the root of your problems to get to the solutions. So a lot of problems we try and fix with this surface level energy, right? You're procrastinating, or you're self-sabotaging, or you've got bad habits, and you think, oh, I'll just create a to-do list, or I'll just try and not do this today. Like, I'll just try not to scroll today, or I'll just try not to get roped into the algorithm today, or I'll try and stop being clumsy today. But until you actually go to the root of your problems, you're not going to understand where the solution is coming. You're just blanket layering it. And sometimes it works. But for me, I remember when I used to say all the time, I'm really clumsy, and I would knock things over, and I would just be like, oh, be more careful, or just like be more intentional, or slow down. People always used to tell me, slow down. But that wasn't the thing. I had to work out why I was being so clumsy in the first place. And I realized I'd picked it up from childhood, and I'd watched my mum be stressed and moving things around and being late, or like being like last minute. And then I picked it up as well. So I had this internal wiring that I had to change from being stressed and being clumsy as the norm to not being stressed and being calm. And anytime I feel stressed, or I feel myself being in that clumsy energy, not labeling myself as being clumsy, and just being like, you're stressed, you're rushing, take a deep breath. Okay, cool. And then I can move forwards. Fourth is incremental progress is the only way to win. You'll see these people go from online having these transformation videos, and they go from when I went from here to here, and there's this big, seemingly unsurmountable mountain of transformation. Even for one of my clients, my client Justin went from 40K a month to 57K a month in just 30 days. And that's huge, and I'm not taking anything away from that. But it's the integratory little steps that got them there. So if you don't know what those steps are, if you don't know how to break down those bigger tasks into small little surmountable hills that you can climb over and tick off and move through, then you're going to feel like you have such a massive gap in between where you are now and where you want to go. And you're going to, unless you are a very resilient person or inhuman, there's going to be a failure point. and you're not going to celebrate things, and it's going to feel like it sucks, and you're going to feel miserable. This is how I did in my first. This is how I felt during a lot of the time in my first year of business, because nothing was ever enough, because I hadn't reached my goal yet. Yeah, incremental progress. Incremental progress is actually the way to win. Next point is set bigger goals, then set smaller goals. So in Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick Bet-David, he read that there's 4 ways. He explained there's 4 ways that drives people. Purpose, so in the aspect of having a wider impact, having an impact on the community, that type of thing. Madness, so when somebody tells you that you can't do something and you're like, well, I'm going to prove them wrong. Like your boss or your parents or people around you or friends, or even just that random hater on Instagram that or YouTube that says, Luke, clean your teeth, they're yellow. I can't even remember what the comment was, but it was kind of funny. We also have advancement, where we need this incremental progress, similar to the last point, incremental progress of being at the next goal. And then also individuality, where you'll see people traveling, you see people with the nice cars, you see people with the luxury flights, you see people with the luxury hotels, luxury places, and everybody has a blend of these 4, but some people are more driven by one more than the other. But regardless, if you're trying to have a big impact in this world, you need a big goal for that, and then you want to start small. Start with small goals that get you there. And then madness, whether you're creating enemies all the time, you're still going to need to create a big goal to prove this enemy wrong, and then you're going to need to have smaller goals that get you there. But you're still going to need bigger goals and then smaller goals. But if you set small goals and you just set small goals, you're not going to feel driven enough when things get hard to follow through with that. There's going to be more initiative to dive into something else that seems more exciting at the time, because there's not a big upside of you completing this goal, of you completing this task. So if you want bigger inputs and more progress, you're going to want bigger outputs, so bigger goals. Next point is, if you don't celebrate your wins, you will be confined to losing. I never used to celebrate, and that frankly made me miserable. The first thing that I start any call off with any clients is, what were your wins? Even if they go, oh, today was heavy, I then still come back to, well, what were your wins? Because if you don't celebrate yourself, you don't celebrate your achievements along the way, it doesn't even matter if somebody like me or your friends externally validates you, it's never gonna feel good enough to you. Now, there is reasons why you don't celebrate or have trouble celebrating, maybe linked to feeling guilty or shameful, passed down from your parents, caregivers, culture or environment coming up, where people just didn't support you. Like, I was bullied growing up. I had one incident of some family member telling me, nobody wants to hear your voice, shut the fuck up. And that made me play small. It meant that I never celebrated my wins, that nothing was ever good enough. But what I realized over this time is, if you want to achieve anything, start with what you're achieving now, and then the universe, God, will allow you to receive more and feel whole for that. I've been around millionaires that are absolutely miserable because they don't celebrate themselves. They don't acknowledge themselves. So if you want to move forwards, you need to start celebrating your wins. This next point is, the sooner you realize you know everything, but also nothing, the faster you will grow. At the start of my business, and even when I was earning 15K a month, and even when I was business partnered in a 7-figure company, I thought I was shit. And I'm like, I know everything. And what this created was this tough exterior, stubborn exterior of not being receptive to anything. The truth is, if you had everything that you needed, you would be at your goals already. So what I learned to do was step myself into a beginner's mindset, where if I saw somebody further along, or they had created what I wanted to create, I would say, hey, I'm going to grab onto that and realize that this person probably knows more than me. If they have these systems in place, they probably know more than me. And I am going to be a beginner's mindset, absorb their knowledge, and then move forwards. Next point is, chasing happiness is dumb. Chase the life that you want. I was recently around some really low vibrational people that whenever I talked about my achievements, I talked about my friends' achievements that maybe made them feel insecure, though they would say, yeah, but are they happy? But here's the thing, close your eyes, take a moment. Think of a moment when you felt happy. Okay, so for me, what's coming up is me dancing to some of my favorite songs, or my grandma's apple crumble, absolutely incredible. Okay, now take another deep breath in. Think of a moment that made you feel sad. The end of my business partnership and relationship made me feel sad. I had people pass in my life that made me feel sad. Okay, now come back to the happy moments. Apple crumble. Dancing, being in Bali. Okay, so you can change your state in an instant, but you can't change your lifestyle. So one of the most important things that you do is that you focus on the lifestyle that you want to have. I have a client, we recently had this conversation where she wanted to buy this $30,000 machine with no upside. She just has to profit share as she makes money from this machine. But her vision is to be living a travel-based lifestyle where she feels secure, she feels warmth, she feels connection, she's not confined to an office. And I asked her, with getting this machine, I can see the upside, but with getting this machine, is this actually going to move you closer to the lifestyle that you want to have? And she said, short term, yes, but long term, no. And we just agreed that if we just adjusted her marketing and sales approach, that she's just going to get closer to her goals via that, rather than getting this $30,000 machine that she has to pay back. So you need to understand that chasing happiness is dumb. Chase the life that you want by aligning your smaller actions into the life that you want to have. Think 5 moves ahead. Next point is masculine structure allows feminine flow. Now, I could do a whole video on this, but let's just take masculine energy, healthy masculine energy, as structure, clarity, direction, competence, consistency, showing up. Feminine energy will take us flow, creation, ease, but the latter, feminine energy, can't happen without structure in place to support that. Like, let's say you have no sleep routine, you're gonna feel dysregulated, which means your emotions are all over the fucking shop, which means your decisions in the day will feel impacted and you won't feel like doing things. You're not gonna be motivated and you'll claim it's burnout, but actually it's your lack of self-fucking management and you know it. So think, how can I add a little bit more structure to my life that will allow me to have the ease and flow that I'm looking for? And just think about your potential when you do that. Like, imagine what's possible when you just show up for you. You just create structure for you. That's the first thing that I do with all of my clients is let's set up a routine and a structure that works for you, for your lifestyle, not my lifestyle, yours. Because then we can allow the flow, whether that's abundance or whether that's time or whether that's friendships or whether that's relationships or whether that's fitness. We can allow that physical, mental, spiritual, financial flow to happen by creating appropriate structure. Okay, next point. Being cheap gets cheap results. Have you ever bought knockoff shoes or clothes and they always seem to last way less? Like, you put them in the washer and eventually over time you're picking up holes, or maybe you just care for them less. Like, you take them to outings where you're going to get them messy or whatnot because you care less about them. Yet when you buy good quality, it doesn't erode as fast. Like, go figures, my Ralph Lauren top, Kenzo t-shirt, Nike shoes always last me way longer than the cheap stuff I ever got. Well, it's the same with the knowledge and skills you're acquiring. If you're just going to podcasts and YouTube or friends for accountability, you could be investing into a book that will give you a more in-depth look than a YouTube. Or even Audible at $10 a month, or however much it costs now. Or if you go another layer up and you go into a course, then you're going to be getting a higher level of knowledge than you would do from a YouTube video. Ironic, because you're on a YouTube video now and I'm giving you value, but anyhow, some of it is going to really crush you. But at the same time, if you then go another layer deeper and you get a coach or a mentor, even though it might be outside of your comfort zone of where your finances are at the moment or what you're comfortable investing, because it's outside of your comfort zone, that's going to allow you to grow. So for example, my first mentor was 10K. I didn't have 10K. I had negative funds in my bank, but I did have 10K 32 days later because he had more knowledge of how to grow faster in a business than I did. Now, if you're coming through this video and there's any questions about anything that I say or you're not sure, ask me below and I'll be sure to answer them. And make sure to give me a like while you're there as well. Next point, go with the flow will only flow more of your current life, never where you seek to be. So go with the flow is very unintentional. It's a way of saying, I'm comfortable in my lifestyle and I'm not that fussed about improving. I don't need to, I don't want to. It's just like, oh, okay, I'll have this or I'll have that. It's a good way to get slapped around in the face all the time. And this is where we see the roller coaster of emotions happen, roller coaster of cash flow happen, because you're always reliant on the external world giving to you rather than taking responsibility and accountability for your life. Because if you're flowing, you're not improving. You're being reactive rather than proactive. So if you want to minimize this, be very clear with what you want. I give this example all the time. But if you get in an Uber and you tell them, hey, take me to Colombia, they're going to be like, what the hell, man? Are you crazy? Where in Colombia are we going? They're not going to go until you have clarity. You need clarity to move forwards. That's going to give you direction, which is going to give you conviction, which will lead to confidence as you grow. Cut the go with the flow out of your life. This is going to probably trigger you the most. Burnout is a myth. Being undecisive, not standing up for what you stand for, your values, and what works for your energy is. So what do I mean by that? I see so many chaotic entrepreneurs, chaotic people who are unconscious, burn out because they have so much chaos in their life. They have a business that has demands. They have a family maybe that has demands. They have areas in their life that have demands and have needed responsibility for someone to be organized, but the person is not becoming organized. So then this chaos, it's like having a ball that is rolling down a hill, and that hill is your energy, and then your energy cutting out at 50%, but the ball keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because you don't have any safety nets of structure in place to allow you to reassess your energy and redirect yourself when you're running on empty. Now, some of you may say, oh, but Luke, I can't control my employer. I can't change what hours I work. It's like, well, yeah, you fucking can. You just need to create organized structure and a game plan that is going to work for you, that's going to get you out of this situation. If you're allowing yourself to eventually get burnt out, it's because you've just said no to yourself over and over and over again. Say yes to yourself and you will find that the burnout will not happen, because when you feel yourself being unaligned, or you feel yourself getting frustrated, or you feel yourself not being heard, or you feel your intuition saying, hey, you need to take a break, then you're going to change it. The next point here is saying no is actually how you say yes to what you want. So most of the time with my clients, it's teaching them to say no in an informed way. Because most people come to me who have wired themselves to be reactive in the moment. So they're checking their phone when they wake up. They're answering messages whenever, wherever.
Okay.
Don't get distracted, Luke. Posting content when they feel like it, but the way to designing your life, the way that you want it, is saying no to reactivity. So you can get more done of the things that matter in less time with less effort. Like, imagine you should be creating content, but every time you do, you get wormholed into the algorithm, researching ideas. So rather than it taking you 15 minutes for a post, it takes you 1 hour. Now imagine that daily. That's now you taking at least 7 hours to create content a week, 30 hours a month. And then how many hours is that a year? And that's if you're consistent doing it. But because you lack the tools to stop you from being distracted and to say no, now you can't even post 4 times a week because you're so distracted and overwhelmed, and your dopamine is so depleted that you're not motivated, inspired, or have the mental capacity. So what can you do to change this? You need to learn to say no. You need to learn to express your anger in a healthy way that allows you to set boundaries with yourself or with others. Like for me, I don't touch my phone in the morning. I avoid it for as long as I can. And then when I need it, usually around the 10 a.m. mark, that's going to be when I come onto my phone. But otherwise, I don't use it. And I set grayscale up on my phone to make it even less distracting. So what can you do to start saying no to things that don't serve you in the short term and saying yes to what you want? The next point here is stop fucking lying to yourself. You know why so many people aren't confident and procrastinate? Because they fucking lie to themselves. I'll stop this habit. I'll invest in this person. I'll do this tomorrow. I'll do this later. They have a friend ask them for a favor, or you have a client ask you for a favor, and you say, yeah, I'll get to that later. 3 days later, you still haven't done it. You are consistently lying to yourself. If you can't follow through on your word, you're breaking a commitment to yourself. You are telling yourself, I'm not good enough. And this usually comes from people pleasing, which I used to do, which you think you're helping people out. You think, hey, look, I'm giving value, like notice me, give me, I'm giving you all of this, notice me. But you're manipulating people because you don't feel enough. The best way to fix this is to tell yourself you're enough, then go to the root cause of it and fix it, and then be super conscious of your words. If something you say doesn't sound right, then adjust it. If you say that you're going to do something, just pause yourself, say, wait, before I commit and say that I'm going to do this thing, let me just have a look at my week. It's stopping yourself from being reactive again. It's thinking 5 moves ahead. Thinking, hey, if I do this commitment now, is that going to impact me in a few weeks or a month? Because so many of you so frantic because you're just saying yes to everything. You need to stop fucking lying to yourself. Cut it out. Next one. Lone wolfing is fucking dumb. Go and make better friends. I thought lone wolfing at the start of my business journey was the way to go. I'd watch YouTube content, I'd ignore my friends' requests to go out, and then I'd work. But then I had 0 feedback loops on my actions. I felt really lonely, really miserable. I felt like I had no support network. I didn't feel like I could go to my parents because, bless them, they took me as far as they could, but they couldn't take me to where I wanted to go because they didn't have what I wanted. Maybe it's the same for you. The people in your network don't have what you wanted, so why would you go to them? But here's the thing, you also have control of who you surround yourself with. And a big thing about my growth, when I'm best in my growth, is when I have community. So when I went to Medellin, when I went to the run club, I had community. And when I'm in coaching programs that have a strong community, that's when I feel whole, because I feel like I have people around me that are going after the same goals and moving along the same thing. If I'm just locked in a basement, locked in my apartment, just doing my own thing with any outside contact, it's lonely. And there's nobody to check you to see if you're moving closer to your future self or closer to your past self, or you're doing things wrong, or you haven't considered another unique perspective. Lone wolfing is so fucking dumb. Go and make better friends that you're inspired by, and then move forwards with a community that serves you. Next point is tidy environment, tidy mind. Messy environment, messy mind, a messy business. Take a look at your environment right now. Are there things all over the place? Is it messy, or does it seem quite neat to you? For some people, they can operate without care and don't have any values of being presentable and looking good. But for me, part of my personal values are look good, feel good. It's why I exercise so much. Yes, because it's also good for my long-term health, but also I look good. Like, I see myself in the mirror and I'm like, yo, this guy is fit. Let's go. But it's also the same with my environment. If my environment has shit everywhere, not only that, it affects my productivity as well. I'm sure you've been in moments where you needed to go somewhere and you couldn't find your keys. Why is that? Because you're not tidy, you're unorganized. There's stuff everywhere. For me, I have all my keys on the same key holder. Why? Because that key holder is wired into my brain, so I know exactly what I'm looking for. I have all of my supplements in the same place. I have all my books in the same place. You can literally see them over there. I have all my goals on the same whiteboard. I don't have multiple different whiteboards, multiple different notes, multiple different task things, because it just creates more clutter. And you're like, oh, where is that thing again? Tidy environment, tidy mind, messy environment, messy mind, messy business. Next point, you are worthy of everything. And don't let anything or anyone tell you otherwise. If you're like me, then when I was running my first business, when I had money come in, I felt great. And when I didn't, I didn't. I let my business define whether I was worthy or not. And then before that as well, it was friends. When I had friends around me, I felt good. When I didn't have friends around me, I didn't feel good. So I would always try and be around other people, and I would people please to a point just so that I didn't have to be alone. But actually, when I cut this out and realized that I deserve every single part of my success and accomplishments that I have, I'm worthy of everything that I have and accomplishments that I've achieved, as well as I'm worthy for just being a human being on this earth. That's why God put me here. Everything changed. But you need to realize, if you don't believe that, then it doesn't matter how much money you earn. It doesn't matter what you accomplish. It doesn't matter what relationship you have. It doesn't matter what fitness level you have. You're not going to feel good enough. I remember when I was absolutely shredded from my first bodybuilding journey, I hated my body. I really wasn't a fan of myself. I looked so good. Even the women around me, I was attracting like a magnet. I had people say all the time, wow, bro, you look insane. You look incredible. I had people reaching out for help. I didn't think I looked good. I had this like bigorexia kind of stuff where I was like, I'm not big enough, I'm not big enough, I'm not big enough. Nothing was enough. And some of you might think that if I lose this, I'm gonna lose my edge. No, your edge is still gonna be there because you have a greater purpose for what you do. But living in scarcity and fear of that nothing is ever gonna be good enough is a great way to lead a life that is empty and you're not whole and you're lost. You are worthy of everything, and don't let anything or anyone tell you fucking otherwise. And the last little piece to this is good inner work equals good outer work. Good outer work equals good inner work, but bad outer work equals bad inner work. Bad inner work equals bad outer work. What do I mean? This is all about alignment, feeling good and also doing good. And I know positive, negative emotions, but I'm sure some of you feel a little bit better if you don't feel scared or shameful or guilty, but you feel love and you feel connected and you feel courageous and you feel happy. But this is also about what I said earlier about blending the masculine and the feminine energy and combining them together. Because you cannot have a business or life you want if you're missing one of these. Like example, if you wake up anxious even though you're making 20k a month, that's an example of a lack of inner work. If you are making 20k a month, but when you sit down to work, you have no idea what you're doing, you're overwhelmed, that's an example of a lack of outer work. But both of these have shown up as anxiety or being angry at yourself or underperforming each day because you need to have a healthy balance of both doing the inner work and the outer work. For me, it's a routinely weekly feedback with myself, which allows me to address both. And then I ask ChatGPT and Claude AI to break down how I feel on a weekly basis, what I say in each of my notes, each of my journaling points. And then from there, I can adjust and step into a better output for the week, a better input. And if you want this prompt, by the way, that I put into ChatGPT or Claude AI, all you've got to do is message me on Instagram at I am Luke Anning, prompt, PROMPT, and I'll send you it. Because when you have that alignment of inner work, outer work, that is going to be when you are fueled towards the best. It's when you feel the best at the end of your day. Whether you've taken the day to yourself to rest and recover, you've gone to the beach, you've caught up with some friends in Bali, maybe like me, or you've spent the whole day working because that's what you felt most called and most aligned to do because you understood who you are at a core. You understood where your emotions lie. You understood your patterns. You understood where your resistance was and uncovered it. For me, I experimented where Monday, Tuesday, I'm hyper performing. And then Wednesday, it's actually a little bit more of a looser day for me, as is Thursday, where I'm more intuitive and I feel into at the start of my day what I'm feeling called to do. Yet on the other days, I'm sometimes hyper structured because I'm experimenting here and seeing what works for me. I understand that my energy is going to be different in different days. I'm like a Ferrari, right? Where some of you guys are like this as well. You're like a Ferrari where you're like absolutely cranking this like V12 engine. And that's amazing because you can go at fast pace. But you're going to need to refuel because your mile to the gallon is really bad. So you're going to need to refuel at some point. It's like you can't just continually train at the gym and expect yourself to get bigger if you're not eating and sleeping. There needs to be the stress of performing, but there also needs to be the rest and recovery. Similar as you can't just rest and recover and meditate your way to success. You can't just manifest because manifestation minus action equals delusion. I say it again, manifestation minus action equals delusion. It's like one of my coaches said, it's like sitting in a car in England and saying, I'm gonna drive through the Eurotunnel, go to Paris. And you close your eyes and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna get there. But you never put your foot on the fucking pedal. You need to have good inner work in alignment with good outer work. You need to have emotional regulation, mindset work, psychology, neuroscience hacks in combination with strategic goal planning and productivity hacks and the things that actually are external operating in your life. So once you combine those two, that's when you're going to be absolutely crushing it. So if you like this video, then make sure to like and subscribe. And if you're wanting to work with me and get to the next level here, then do what the best business owners do, who invest in themselves and value their time higher than they do their money, and are like, hey, I want to get to this goal faster, and DM me the word neuro on Instagram to learn more and apply to work with me. I know I have a few spots at the time of making this video on the discounted offer. So if you're still wanting to get in on a discount so that you can rock and roll earlier before paying full price for neuroproductivity, then just DM me the word neuro and I will see you in the next video.